Hi there, spooky friends, and welcome to a story time that has been long coming. I feel like it's been a while since we had a story time.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace.
I had no idea where to put that. Hello.
Obviously, and yeah, we're here with some story time, and it's our first story time that we're doing live in months.
And in our new place.
Yeah.
And
So
in the new year, which isn't that new because it's like February 10th right now.
yeah, everything back here is all new, all...
Well, it's stuff that you've seen before. It's from our other place. It's just in a new spot now.
Yeah, but look, I can see all my cables. It is nasty.
Yeah, not good cable management back there,
bad
Robin.
cable.
Not gonna lie.
Actually, it's not...
I'm going to scooch, try and center myself to cover that up.
All right, nice.
So anyways, yeah. So this is a Storytime episode. And on Storytime episodes, we read what are called homegrown horrors. Robin, why don't you tell the folks what a homegrown horror is?
So homegrown horrors are stories that you folks have shared with us. And I can't believe that people have been sharing it with us for so long, so many episodes. And we get to share them with the rest of our spooky friends. And they're stories that have covered so many different types of stories that we've had. Paranormal, supernatural, we've had spiritual things, funny coincidental things that we've been sent to us. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah, true crime, extraterrestrial sometimes. So if you folks have a story like that and you're like, gosh, I'd like them to read my story, you can email storytime@scarish.com. That's our email address. Go to our website, scarish.com, which will be updated in the following weeks, which is in desperate need of renovation. But yeah, you can go there and fill out a form at the contact us page and it'll come directly to us, or hit us up on our social medias. Twitter is @ScarishPod. Instagram is @ScarishPodcast, and Facebook is facebook.com/ScarishPodcast. I would like to mention we didn't have a topic episode this week because I am still sick. So if you think like Adam sounds a little bit off, it's because my nostrils are completely stuffed. I'm finally starting to feel a little bit better. But yeah, last night Robin came home and she's like, "Are you sure you want to record tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's just do it. Like, let's just start researching to see where it goes." She's like, "You sound like shit." And I was like, all right, well, like, let's just try. And then I came in the office and I was like sitting here and just feeling awful. And like, we already have some research done. So I was like, it's not going to be a long research and then we can record. And I was just sitting here like, I can't. No, I'm not going to do this. Like, let's just do a story time this week. We are already planning on doing it anyways. I think that's a good thing. So yeah, that's what we did. So we hope you guys enjoy this. We're going to be reading 4 homegrown horrors. And do you want to go first or should I?
You can go first because I have no idea what story I'm going to be reading.
All right. Also, this is the first time in a long time we didn't send these to be proofread by Spooky Mom. So I proofread one of them. That one Robin will have to read because I already know what's going to happen. And the other 3 are very well formatted, and I checked to make sure that we had permission to read them, but I did not actually proofread them. So there'll be some editing if you're listening to this after the fact, and if you're watching this live, we might have to stop a bit more than usual. Also, we're pretty out of practice. We haven't done this in a few months.
Yeah,
so
it's been a while.
It's been a while. But we're going to get into this first one.
I have knots in my hair. Sorry.
And this first one is from Haley. And its subject is Read on the Pod. Which is nice because then I know I can read this one on the pod without having to do too much digging or any at all. And it starts out like this. Hey there, Adam and Robin.
Hey there. I was going to say Adam. I'm Robin.
Hey
That's
there.
Adam.
And Spooky Mom and Spooky Friends. So everyone out there has to say hey there as awkwardly as Robin just did.
Yeah.
And then the next line literally says, everyone yell hi, so I'm not the only one who does it. It's been a while since I've written in, but I had something pretty bananas happen recently, and I figured you both and the Spooky Friends would enjoy the story. It's a little more along the lines of true crime rather than paranormal this time, so I'm leaving out some details, just in case. Basically, I think I stayed in a cult leader's home. My husband is a delightful angel person and surprised me with a trip for our first anniversary. We went to go meet an author I love and got a great deal on an Airbnb.
I think that's really cool that the trip or the gift was like, I really like this author. Let's go, actually meet them. That's so cool.
That's super cool. Since we didn't plan on staying much at the actual place, we got a room in a house. Don't worry, my first order of business was to check the reviews, and everyone raved about how sweet the woman was who rented the rooms and how people would stay there for weeks at a time because of how quiet and accommodating she is. We got to the house and found that the family was not there, so we were let in by one of the other tenants and got settled. We noticed pretty quickly that the house was absolutely covered in religious art and decor. We're from the South, so it wasn't at all odd to us. What was odd was that there was a brochure for a church in our room.
Oh, okay. The church wasn't in their room. The brochure was in there.
The brochure was in their room.
Okay.
What was more odd was that when we looked at it, the people who own and run the church were our hosts. The brochure talked about helping people do mission work and expand their financial capabilities within the church, which seemed odd, but hey, to each their own. We Googled the name of the people, and oh my God, the reviews. People calling the man a prophet, saying that they had never seen someone speak through the Lord like this man, tent revivals, etc. So we were very uncomfortable when we went to sleep. The owners of the home had returned sometime during the night, and when we went downstairs in the morning to get water and get ready, we met them. The wife was very kind, husband was kind of odd, but we figured maybe we were biased because of the reading material left in our room. It looked like they had just come back from an event because there were totes of t-shirts and books all over the house.
Ah, yeah. Sounds like they were the ones running everything.
What will be funny, what will be super funny is if they're like, oh my God, like, it's so nice to meet you. I see you're getting some refreshments. Would you guys like some Kool-Aid? And they hand you like a red Solo cup filled to the brim. Anyways.
No.
We were back upstairs, almost ready to go out for the day, when my husband said, come here, you need to see this. I was packing a bag and I said I'd be right there. He said, no, you're messing with a plastic bag and this is time sensitive. Come here. We're pausing this entire story because I cannot emphasize how much I empathize with this man. Because there are so many times where I say, hey, look at this, or hey, check this out. And Robin refuses to look. No matter what she's doing, it's more important than listening to me. I can fuck off and wait. And then, like, time goes by and whatever I was trying to show her has either gone away or reset or disappeared forever. And I tell her, like, you fucking missed it. Like, sometimes the dog is doing the cutest things. Like, she's standing up and speaking in full English. And I'm like, Robin, look. No, she refuses to do it. She just won't look. So I am so happy to hear that someone said, no, what you're doing doesn't need to be done right now. And I've asked you to come here and it's time sensitive. Like, this just makes my heart explode with joy. All right, let's see what he was looking at, though. So I go to where he's standing, looked over the railing into the living room, and saw a suitcase full of bags of coffee. My husband said, do you remember that show we watched about drug smuggling happening out of Latin America countries in coffee bags? Yes. Yes, I do. Didn't their brochure say they do missions out of Honduras? Yup.
So those coffee bags had drugs in them?
That's what they're assuming. You can't just assume they're correct in this. I'm just going to say, I mean, they were in Honduras where they have coffee. On the way out for the day, we theorized that maybe they were just obsessed with coffee, which would mean that it's in-house for them to use, right? Nope. Nowhere. That evening, everyone was gone, so we casually looked in the cabinets in the pantry while we made dinner, and there was no coffee to be found. To shorten the rest of the story, nothing else happened. I didn't include the name of the person in the body of this email because on the chance we're right, I don't want to get in trouble with anyone involved. It was absolutely the weirdest Airbnb experience we've ever had, and I hope we never have one that's weirder. Currently, our running theory is that the, quote, ministry has been running since the 80s, but they're able to afford a big, beautiful house, so they're either scamming people or running drugs. Guess we'll find out if there's a Netflix special.
I mean, I feel like when it comes to these big churches and these creepy, cult type things, they just get money from their, what are they, people that go to the church? What are they called? Patrons?
Sure.
Or something, So the people
Worshippers,
yeah, so they get money from them and that's how they can afford like these big extravagant things. Like,
I will say it's really odd they had all that coffee and there was none in the house. I wondered as soon as I heard like they had a huge thing of coffee, they're having these big extravagant events where they're taking things like maybe they're gifts they give to people, but at the same time they're probably drugs. That's all. Glad to have you guys back and that you got a well-deserved break. Keep on creeping on. Haley.
Thank you so much, Haley.
We appreciate you sending that to us. That was super awesome, and I really wonder what happens. Please reach out to us if we wind up having a Netflix special that pops up about these people, and let us know, like, this is them, because we will definitely run this as a topic and just have you on. So, fingers crossed. Not really. That's a horrible thing to hope. Fingers crossed they're running drugs, folks.
I mean, all I know is, like, people that run those big mega churches all own giant mansions and homes.
For sure.
So there's a reason why they have all that money. Okay.
Interesting.
Just saying.
At some point, I'm sure we'll find out.
We'll be those people. We'll start our own ministry.
That's not going to happen. All right. So before we get into the next story, I do want to mention, because in the background of Robin's camera are the little Try Guys statues that we own. And we only have, Keith, Zach, and Eugene up there. Obviously, since the last time we had a D&D episode come out, the Bloodline Saga, a lot has popped off with the Try Guys. Ned has been removed. Shit's gotten crazy. I had no idea anything was going on. And it's just weird, just a coincidence that Ned happened to be the first person eliminated from the Try Guys in the
our
series.
D&D game,
he was the first person to go. That had nothing to do with it. That was totally written and recorded well before that whole scandal happened. So just want to address that up front. Okay, now I will let Robin read the second story of the show.
All right. So this story says, "Hello, spooky peeps."
Hello.
That's all of us. We're all the spooky peeps. Hey, Adam and Robin, that's us. I'm so sorry I'm procrastinating. I'm a procrastinating piece of shit. You're not. I definitely am, though. That takes 5 years to write an email. What? You've been with us for 5 years? That's great. I'm seeing a doctor for that. JK, LOL. You know, I actually say JK, LOL. Like,
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We all know that.
I've written in before, and going forward, I will try to not type how I talk starting now. I type how I talk. Our scripts are written, and when I type it out, I type how I talk. And so half the time there's LOLs and stuff in my script. And if we had to print to book based on our scripts, I'd have to do a lot of editing. Anyway, I was recently listening to Storytime episode 1, and it triggered a few memories for me. Adam, that's you, spoke about a dream you had of your grandfather after his passing. I sincerely believe that he visited you for real. I messaged you guys via Facebook Messenger and talked about sending my in-dream stories. Here are the ones I remember. Also, it probably doesn't help that I don't have my glasses on.
I told her to make sure she had her glasses before this.
All right. So first story is titled Nightmare. Titled.
Do you want to go find your glasses? I know that titled has nothing to do with it. But I'm just nervous for this because there's a lot of text on this.
All right. No, I'm good. This first story is titled Nightmare Demon Mom.
Okay.
I dreamt I was standing in my mom and stepdad's house. My mom was handing me 2 tickets. I asked her what the tickets were, and she told me it was to an Oscar De La Hoya fight, which is boxing. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been to one?
I've never been to a boxing match, no.
I remember grabbing the tickets and being super excited and said, "Oh man, I must be dreaming." She answered with a monotone voice and face completely devoid of any expression. And she just said, "You are." I cannot explain through text how this sounded. It was almost robotic and threatening. I looked up at her, and that's when I woke up. And when I say I woke up, I mean in the exaggerated Hollywood type of wake up. That's the one.
That's how you wake up.
Okay.
In the exaggerated Hollywood version of waking up.
And so they describe sitting up, gasping, and sweating.
Could you hear the sweat in my...
Yeah. While I worked on getting my breathing under control and my eyes adjusted to the darkness in my room, I became aware of my mom's silhouette standing right beside me.
Fuck.
Confused, I called out, "Mom?" Nothing. No movement, just staring. I reached my hand out like a fucking rookie that doesn't know how to survive a horror movie. When I reached my hand out toward it, all the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I withdrew my hand slowly, and I still don't know why I did this, but I laid back down, trying to move hella slow. I think I was thinking, no sudden movement. If it can't see you, wait, if you don't move, it can't see you. That's how dinosaurs work, right?
No,
T-Rex,
it's just the T-Rex, and I'm pretty sure that's fake.
Okay.
Its visual acuity is based on movement. It'll lose you if you don't move.
Plus, this thing was between me and my bedroom door. I tucked my blanket up to my chin and around my face when I had this vision of this thing leaning over into my face. I started praying like I was one number away from winning the lottery. So, a lot and fast and earnestly, and somehow I fell back asleep. I've never experienced anything like that before. 10 out of 10, do not recommend.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, dude, that's terrifying.
I can't stand having dreams where I feel like it's so real and it's so scary, and just like when I wake up, I'm too scared to open my eyes. Those types of dreams, I can't even. Definitely hate those. Like I think I've described one to you before where we were in a hotel room or something, and I felt like this thing was coming from around the corner of the hotel room and like was getting up in my face.
Yeah.
Man, just those things are scary. Okay.
All right, I will say, I will pause the story reading now because this next part says do not share this part. And then after the end of it, it says, if you think it's okay to read on the podcast, I guess you can. But if it's too much, it's totally okay. But the beginning says they don't want it read because they'd be embarrassed by it. So to err on the side of caution, we're not going to read that second part. I will reply to this email, however, and say, hey, you're in the new Storytime. It's going to come out. Let us know if you want us to read the second part of it because we decided not to out of respect for your privacy. So I think that's going to wind up being the end of this one.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that we got that first part in there. And then, we'll take it from there.
All right.
Just to reiterate, this is an example. If you have something you'd like to share with us, please do so. And if you do not want it shared on the podcast, we won't share it. So thank you so much for writing, Jess. This was a really terrifying dream. And then we will privately read the second one because I'm sure it's probably emotional after the show. And then we'll get back to you on that. But either way, thank you so much for sending that in.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I didn't warn Robin about that. So
No,
I wanted to step in there and be like, wait, time out, like Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell, who I don't know if you've ever watched Saved by the Bell or know who Zach Morris is.
Mm-mm.
We're not that far apart in age. God.
No.
Fine, be that way. He's like the original Deadpool. He was always breaking the fourth wall and talking directly to the audience. If he yelled, it's like a kid in high school, right? And if he yelled time out, time froze. Everyone froze exactly where they were. And then he'd narrate a bit. There's a time he yelled time out and then moved someone in front of someone's punch.
Is he the main character?
Of Saved by the Bell? Fuck yeah, he is.
Is he really?
Yeah.
What about all the other characters?
They're not the main character.
But they all, okay. Don't they all share the same amount of screen time?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. It's all about Zach. Zach's the best.
So it should be, I don't know, named Zach or something.
No, it's Saved by the Bell. He is Saved by the Bell.
Oh, is his last name Bell?
No. Why does the name of the fucking show have to connect?
I don't know. I've never watched it. I don't know.
It's like, is the last name of the family in Modern Family modern or family? Like, no.
But they're all main characters.
No, they're not. I mean, maybe they are for Modern Family, but who gives a shit? It doesn't make sense that the title of Saved by the Bell has to connect to Zach Morris's name. Time out. Just me and you guys talking now. Robbins and Dingleberry. Time in. Ow! She hurt me. Everyone saw that. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jess, for sharing that with us.
Yeah, for me, I have a recurring dream. I've talked about it before, how I used to have a recurring dream where Freddy Krueger was like my boogeyman, and I'd have the same dream every night for years until I finally survived the dream, basically. And then when I got older, all that went away, and then I started having dreams where there was some sort of demonic presence or entity. It never has a physical form. It's like the feeling of pure dread just washes over me, and I just all of a sudden feel it centralized in a specific location, and I know it's there, and it's there for me. And the weirdest part about having this is it's not a recurring dream. It's a recurring character across my dreams, where regardless of the dream I'm having, as soon as I feel it, it's like, oh, it's here for me. And I haven't had a dream like that in 4 or 5 years, and it just popped up. And this doesn't always happen in my dreams, but as soon as I felt it, it's like I was standing in a room with friends talking or something like that. And as soon as I felt it and I knew where it was, I charged it. And then it froze me, basically. And I was like, oh my God. And so I reached out to try and grab what I thought was it, to grab it and fight back, basically. And then I, quote unquote, woke up.
Like Hollywood woke up? You're like,
no. I woke up and I was in a bunk bed. So obviously this wasn't a real wake up, which I'll spoil that for you now. But I was in a bunk bed and I was on the top bunk, and floating above me, between me and the ceiling, was this ghastly entity. And it was coming towards me. And then I reached up again to grab it, thinking oh, this is what my dream was. It was warning me about this thing about to hurt me. And when I reached up to grab it, I actually woke up in real life. And so I was laying in our bed with my arms stretched out like I was in the dream, trying to grab something. And I panicked because in that moment, I couldn't move. It's like something had me by my wrist, keeping me from moving forward. And I was just shaking. And I finally told myself, calm down. And as soon as I calmed down, I was able to just move my arm. So it was still paralyzed, kind of from the dream or from the fright or whatever. But yeah, it's fucking horrifying. So dreams suck when they terrify you like that. But anyways, good stuff.
Here's Wonderwall.
Anyways, here's Wonderwall. So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break. And we're back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move into our third homegrown horror of the show, and this one's subject is Storytime Can Read on Podcast, and it starts out like this. Hi, Robin and Adam. Hello. Robin says hello, but she has tea or something in her mouth. Coconut water.
Nah, matcha latte.
Matcha latte. My bad. It goes on to say, I am just about caught up with the show. I started listening sometime during the fall last year, but then I took a break due to the holidays and some other family matters that continued on during the spring. No worries. We totally understand. I started listening again in June and have been binging ever since between work, long car rides, and sometimes right before bed, which might not always be the best idea, but here we are.
Some of the topics are nice because they're not so scary, you know? They're just like informational or historical, like
or horrifying.
Or I mean, yeah, but like the true crime sometimes isn't that bad. Or like I don't think SCPs are that bad. Some of them are pretty scary.
SCPs are fun.
I think they're fun. But yeah, I mean, we're fun to listen to all year round, anytime, 24/7.
Okay, I like that. It's a good advertisement. It goes on to say, I'm also very glad that I work from home most of the week because I find myself just dying with laughter between the banter. Happy to hear that. I love your show because you both really do make it seem like I'm sitting with two friends chatting about all of the spooky things. Anyways, some of the stories recently have made me think about some of my dreams that I have had throughout my life, and the topic of recurring dreams has come up a few times. I know it is common to have recurring dreams, but I've never had a dream that is exactly the same as another one. For me, I have a dream location that is recurring. If I have a dream that takes place in this location, it is usually an unsettling or scary dream.
I think it's funny that you just brought up your story of how you have a recurring thing happen. I know you have a recurring location though too. Like a lot of the time you're in your like childhood home or something like that. If
I'm in my childhood home, things are not going to go well. I always know that 100%. Hang on one sec. Excuse me. I apologize. All right. I know it is common to have recurring dreams. Yep, I read that. The setting is of a beach and is just a regular beach. Lifeguard chairs, a pavilion with a snack bar, and the parking lot is across the street. If you go further up the street, there is a little town with shops, restaurants, and inns/hotels. When you look out at the water, it is open ocean straight ahead, but on either side of the beach, there are these cliffs that enclose the beach, making a bit of a horseshoe, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can totally picture this in my mind's eye.
I mean, one of the beaches I used to go to growing up, there was the beach, and then on one side, it was literally like a strip of black rock. It was literally called Black Rock.
It's a good name.
But yeah, it was like all the way, it was a huge cliff and you couldn't see past it. You had to like climb up and then jump off or whatever. So I totally see this location.
Cool. I have had so many unsettling dreams on this beach. In one, I was on a boat that was out on the water, but it had capsized and I was unable to get it flipped back over. I could see the land, but I was just far enough that the people on land couldn't see me struggling. Under the water, there were many large sea creatures that were slowly starting to surround me. The creatures kind of looked like whales or narwhals. Fun fact, this is me saying this, fun fact, I didn't know narwhals were real for a very long time. I thought they were fake. Anything with a horn attached to it like that just looks fake as fuck. All right, getting back into it. They were so...
Wait, what about like goats and stuff?
Goats have two.
Reindeer.
They have two.
Moose.
Like they have antlers. It's different than like just one fucking horn in the middle of something's forehead. I was like, unicorn manatee. Fuck right off. You're not getting me with that shit. All right, I'm going to get back into this now. They were so large and I was getting the sense they were predators and were unfriendly. I wanted to try and swim to land, but these creatures kept getting in my way. Of course, I woke up before I could find out if I made it to land safely. I had a dream once where I was in the water of the beach, just swimming this time, and was not far out. I went to go swim back in, but a swarm of jellyfish had made their way between me and the land.
See, now this is not so much a nightmare as this would happen in real life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can see these things happening in real life.
I know at one point I have been stung by a jellyfish. I just don't remember which trip it was because I'm that old where some of my memories and family trips blur together. It was either San Diego or the Bahamas. I don't know which.
Okay.
But I'll keep going. There was no way I wouldn't get severely stung if I attempted to make my way back. And yet again, I also woke up right before I made it to land, so I am unsure of how it was resolved. I have also had several dreams where there was a storm coming while I was on the beach. In one of these dreams, there were these huge waves crashing onto the beach. As the waves were forming and making their way to their highest peak, I would get a glimpse of the shadow of a shark or a whale or another large, very intimidating sea creature.
It's just me.
The creatures were never... No. The creatures never made their way onto the beach, though, because of dream science, ? I've had dreams where I'm on the beach, but trying to get away from people who were out to get me, so I would be weaving in and out of crowds. Sometimes the beach is filled with people, sometimes it's just me and a handful of people on the beach, or I am completely by myself. It is always super eerie if I am by myself or if there are minimal people. What is very ironic about the beach being the location of my very unsettling dreams is that I love the beach and it is one of my favorite places to be. Anyways, I'm sorry if the email is long. I do have a couple of short stories of kind of creepy things that have happened if you are interested. Always. Thanks for keeping me company during my long days at work. Keep on creeping on. Well, thank you so much for sending that in. These were excellent. And I think it's very interesting because like Robin mentioned, and like I just said, like I do have recurring dreams and they've kind of changed and shifted as I've gotten older. It's so bizarre that like the beach is someplace that you are happy and you love going to. And I think that might be why your brain just kind of like has it as the background thing, but it sucks that it's always the background thing of something scary or traumatic or terrifying happening. So, as far as the other stories go, we definitely want to hear them. So please send those in.
Yeah, definitely send them in. I love hearing everybody's interesting stories and how people experience different things or how their brain processes different things. It's always really fascinating.
Indeed. Thank you one more time.
Yeah. This final email goes something like this. JK, the subject is my spooky encounter, and it begins... Hello, guys. My name is Zuhair, and I'm from California. Before I start, I just wanted to say I have just started listening to your podcast, and I am so addicted to it. Thank God.
Thank you.
Both of you are so funny and have great chemistry when talking. After how many people have written their encounter, I feel a lot safer telling mine.
So that's a shout out to the spooky friends for trusting us with their stories.
Yeah. So starting off, I was about 11 or so years old, and I was a little rebellious shit. But I guess who isn't, right?
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you just... I mean,
there are some kids who are good kids, who are like obedient, they do what their parents say, and they're called squares. Not really, they're just good kids. I wasn't one of those, for sure.
I was fine until high school, and then I started trouble in high school, for sure.
Your idea of starting trouble is probably my idea of like being a good kid. So
my idea of starting trouble is finally being like, I'm not going to do what you tell me.
Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
Every night I would pretend to sleep until everyone was asleep, and I would get up out of bed. Mind you, I slept on the top of a bunk bed with my older brother in the bottom bed. I did this because every night I would go to the living room and watch Adult Swim on TV where all the anime would play, and it would have some mature content anime where they show light fan service, and you know, as a kid, I needed to see that stuff.
I knew you were going to enjoy reading this one.
But continuing the story, one night I would do my same routine, get up out of bed, and slowly go down to my bunk bed, avoiding stepping on my brother. What's funny about that is, yes, they did play anime, you know, late at night, but I mean... Okay, so you're 11, maybe there's things that you shouldn't see, but like all the good animes were on, right? They had Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, all that fun stuff. I don't know what would be so bad that you couldn't watch it though, with like Tiggle Bitties or something, you know?
I mean, there's also violence. Like if your parents aren't into like fighting or violence, it's like all Dragon Ball Z is. I know that was on.
I remember like G-Force though played it all the time.
Gundam, the Gundam series too has pretty mature content as far as that goes. But it's been so long since I used to watch. It's hard for me to figure out like which ones were on it. You know?
Yeah.
Like Gundam Wing was the one when I was in high school for sure, and then I don't remember like what came after that. So
Gundam Seed.
Was it Gundam Seed?
Gundam Seed Destiny.
Like for being like on the air and not as far as like continuity's sake.
No.
I'm not challenging your knowledge, Robin.
No, Jesus. I'm not saying you're doing that. Oh, ew, they had G Gundam too. Whoa, the worst. Anyway, so they tried to not step on their brother. That night, I had to pee really bad. Who doesn't? So I rushed out of bed and went to the bathroom. Sometimes you have dreams where you just gotta pee your pants. From there, I headed to the living room. I had to... Adam just stared at me. Okay. From there, I headed to the living room. I had to pass the front door to get to the TV area. And for some reason, I was walking towards the TV. I had this really weird feeling that someone was at the front door. For some reason, I had this huge urge to just open the door. I don't know what came over me, but it felt like a magnet-like feeling. and it dragged me to the door. Every time I would start walking forward towards the TV area, I would constantly look back at that door. I just started walking to the front door, and when I opened it, there was this figure about 5 feet from the entrance just looking at me. There was also a metal screen door between us.
That's good, because you don't want nothing to be between you and a weird figure standing in your doorway.
This figure was just staring at me. It looked like a tall man with a brimmed hat, like those detective noir hats. And it was just staring, not doing anything. This just reminds me of like something from Poltergeist or something, that creepy guy that comes to their door.
That wide brimmed hat, dude. That's Poltergeist too. It's creepy as shit.
For some reason, I really wanted to open the metal screen. And before I knew it, I woke up in bed. I told my dad about it, and he completely dismissed me and told me that I was dreaming and didn't even try to listen to me. I started thinking that it was just a dream as well, but later my brother had told me that he was so mad at me because that night I had stepped on his leg really hard, and I woke him up when I went to the bathroom, and that he heard the front door open.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. That's like, it's like somebody actually giving you proof like, no, dude, that happened to you.
The most terrifying part is like this whole confrontation happens at the door, and then you like wake up in bed. So you would immediately assume like, wow, that dream felt real. And then someone just confirms that it was real. And you're just like, then what the fuck happened to me?
All right. So I was scared shitless for about a week. I didn't get up late again. And then after a week, I was having the anime withdrawal. Yes. And I had to watch some good old Fooly Cooly. So I did the same thing. I waited for everyone to go to sleep, and I got up and sneakily went to the living room to watch TV. Yeah, sometimes you just can't not do it, dude. I remember running home. Okay, not running home because I lived in the middle of nowhere, but as soon as my mom picked me up from my friend's house or picked me up from school and took me home, not Pokemon, Digimon started at 3 or 3:30 on Fox. And I was like, y'all, I gotta go get home. I gotta watch Digimon.
I had no idea until this moment that Digimon was on Fox.
Yeah, bro.
Because when like, if you were telling me like after school Fox programming, I'd be like, oh, Amazing Spider-Man, the X-Men, Batman, the animated series, obviously. And then I don't know if Fox had Animaniacs, but I feel like they did at some point. But like Digimon being on Fox is like,
I lived in Hawaii.
After school programming to me is like, I'm not that much older than you. How is this possible?
I don't know if our channeling is different because we lived in Hawaii, you know, and maybe Fox on the East Coast, like Chicago
Midwest,
area was like
Midwest.
I don't give a okay, you know what? I'm from an island in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
That part's true.
Anyway, we have our own time zone, right?
Oh yeah, Hawaii does have its own time zone for sure.
Okay. So anyway, I know the feels. You got to get that anime in. So the way my living room was set up had the TV in the corner and the couches obviously facing it, and behind the couch, a couple of feet away, was the entrance to my garage. As I was watching TV, I heard this noise come from the garage. I ignored it. After a little bit, it happened again, so I got up and walked to the door. No, you just go back to bed. You just leave it. Unless you keep hearing it and then you go to your parents' room and said, hey, I heard something coming from the garage.
Hey guys, I was in my bed and I heard something coming from the garage, so I went downstairs and turned on the TV so I could check and see what it was.
I felt a little safer to check out what it was because the light switch in the garage was on the outside, not in the garage. I assumed I could take a look inside with the light on really quick and close the door. As I did, I just peeked my head in and looked around multiple times, scanning a section at a time. I didn't see anything, and I just felt relieved, so I closed the door and turned around, and my heart fucking dropped. Straight cold chills and hairs immediately raised, and my body just turned stiff. As I turned around, my kitchen was also in plain view to the left of the living room, and there was this woman looking at me, peeking at me like she's trying to hide with half of her face covered by the counter, so all I can see was her hair, which was glossy black and super pale, with like white, prunish looking skin, like what happens to your finger in the water. Gross. I wonder, okay, so this is California, right? I wonder if it's, I was going to say if it's Hawaii, I don't know. You get a lot of weird, creepy, Asian seeming ghosts, okay? But I don't know, this is interesting. I wonder if it's the same era that had like The Grudge and stuff going on, so you're kind of inspired by like commercials that you see on TV, and as a kid, you know, all those things scare you.
Seep into your subconscious.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but her eyes were bloodshot and one of her hands were gripping the top of the counter and her other hand was on the one side of it. And I shit you not, she made the hush sign like a finger in front of her face. I'm assuming that's what it was because I couldn't see her lips. She started to use the other hand gripping the side of the counter and pointed at the front door. No. All I could think to do was walk to the couch and sit with my back towards the area because I just thought, out of sight, out of mind, but no!
Yeah, that's the crazy part of this story to me is that you're just like, yeah, whatever, I'm just gonna go back to watch anime.
No. If I freaking saw that, I'd be like, running to my parents, I don't even care, this is dumb, I hate it. I can't sit back down on the couch when the living room's on one side, the kitchen where you see it is on the other side. Like, no, you don't. No, because then
you, I won't do what you tell me.
If she's on the other side of that couch, what if it's an actual person in your house and she's gonna freaking like garrote you, you know, like fucking strangle you to death, and you're just like,
that's
nah.
some dark shit there, Robin. Jesus Christ.
Anyway, I was straight shocked, no facial expression at all, and just put the volume down to 0.
You have to read that so people can actually hear what you're saying.
And just put the volume down to 0 and kept watching, retaining no information on what I was watching. Then why are you sitting there? Why? I can't. I can't. I literally could not get her face out of my head even now, and it scares me and makes me feel so uncomfortable when I remember it. I told my mom and dad, and they didn't believe me again. I told this story to 3 other people in my life, and they all told me, oh, you were just a kid. It was just your imagination. It was real, or maybe it just felt real, but I can assure you I wasn't dreaming. I've never seen those things again, and from then on, I never stayed up past my bedtime again. Well, until I didn't have a bedtime because I got older. But now, when any kid has a spooky encounter or stories, I listen to them with open hearts because I don't want them to feel the way that I did. Secluded and on my own with no one to help me through it. Well, that is my freaky encounter. To this day, I don't know what the hell those 2 things were. This tall shadow man with a brimmed hat trying to get me out of the house, and the lady who was either telling me to go outside or maybe even helping me, telling me to be quiet because the other thing is outside.
That's what I thought.
That's
exactly what I thought.
Love you guys. Apologize if this is a little long. It feels so good to get it off my chest. Oh, also, now that I think about it, maybe there was a third entity there as well. Maybe the one in the garage. Or might have just been the lady in the kitchen. Who knows? I would not like to think about this any longer.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, no. Like, if I saw someone like that in my kitchen, like, big nopes, I'm running. I can't. That's too scary.
I will say, like, I understand why people dismiss kids. Because, like, we have a niece who we've asked just to, like, tell us stories randomly. And it's, like, crazy off-the-wall shit that's pretty scary sometimes. So kids do have active imaginations. But to completely write a kid off that is telling you, like, no, this was real. Like, this is something that happened. Like, it is dangerous to do that. Because, like Robin said, like, what if this was a person? Like, that first part of the story where there's a guy outside the house, like, to just tell your kid, like, you were dreaming, go back to bed. I would hope they said that to you to try and provide you peace of mind, even though that's probably not what it did. And obviously it didn't. And then went and looked into it, you know, like put a baseball bat by the door, did something so they could make sure that if there was any sort of threat to the home or the child, they were prepared for it. Because if my kid came to me and said, like, hey, this happened last night, I'd be like, everything's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm sure you're just dreaming. Like, go hang out in another room so I can talk to your mom really fast. And they'd be like, this kid saw a demon. Like, I would immediately freak the fuck out. I wouldn't treat it as if it was just like, I'm just going to tell the kid that it was nothing so that I can go on with my day and not have to worry about it. And then having a second thing happen like that, that's just equally as terrifying, except this thing was in the house. In the fucking house. Yeah. And you never saw it again. Like, it really makes me wonder if, like, maybe someone was running from the cops, snuck into your house. You came downstairs to watch TV and there were cops like searching outside and they saw you and they're like, shut the fuck up, kid. And what you heard was cops searching around outside. That was the noise that you heard a couple of times. Like, that's where my head went a little bit too. But, and then you of course connected it to the other paranormal experience that you had, but that was actually a real person who was like, that kid kept his mouth shut. Like, so I'm gonna leave him alone and I'm gonna sneak out just as easily as I snuck in.
But like, okay, as a child, right? You're like, I'm gonna go back to the couch. I'm gonna turn the volume down to 0. I'm just gonna sit here. Like, no. You can't. I can't. I would have ran so fast.
I cannot tell you what I would have done because I'm a very different adult as I was a child, and I don't remember what my childlike instincts would have been. I probably would have screamed and ran to my parents. I probably would have been like, there's a woman in the kitchen!
What if they had screamed and the spirit thing would have killed them?
I mean, I don't know about that.
There's a movie about that.
Well, yeah, it's not like a documentary, though. Like, why you don't scream at spirits. I would have run to my parents for protection.
Someone make that documentary.
We should make that
Don't
documentary.
Scream at spirits.
But I really do appreciate you sharing this story with us. And I understand when you tell this story to people, like sometimes they treat you like, oh, I'm sure you're just a kid and just dismiss it outright. That happens way too often to people.
I mean, that's how I thought of it, right? Where I was like, maybe this kid is just inspired by trailers for movies or things that have come out on TV that are kind of scary or whatnot, you know?
Do you know, this is apropos of nothing aside from the word trailers, do you know why they're called trailers? The previews for movies used to come after the movie. The credits would roll.
So they trailed
and then they would come on. That's why they were called trailers. But no one ever stayed to watch. So they're like, can we put the trailers at the front? And someone was like, that's a good idea. But they didn't come up with a good idea of like, change the fucking name then.
Just name them to headers.
They should have changed it to headers. But that's why they're called trailers. That's a true story. So anyways, thank you so much, Zahira, for sending us your story. We sincerely appreciate it. And yeah, that's the last one we have for this episode.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for sending your stories in. We really, really appreciate it.
And that is everything we have for Storytime number 195. Thank you so much to everyone who wrote us. We sincerely appreciate it. If you have a story you would like us to read, please email storytime@scarish.com or go to our website, scarish.com. Click on Contact Us, fill out that form. It does come directly to us. Or you can hit us up on our social medias. Twitter is @ScarishPod, Instagram is @ScarishPodcast, and Facebook is facebook.com/ScarishPodcast. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $1. And like I was saying earlier in the episode, at some point you might not have heard it because it was during a live stream. But I did commission one of my art friends to create a new design for the next little Patreon reward we're going to be sending out next quarter. So yeah, there's new stuff coming.
Indeed.
And if you're not into the monthly subscription type thing, you can also go to ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast, and those are one-time donations.
Yep. So however you feel comfortable supporting us, we sincerely appreciate it because we get so much support. It's crazy. And it means the world to us, and we thank you guys so much for that. And that is everything we have for you. So Robin, why don't you go ahead and sign us out?
Keep on creeping out, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.